Hello and welcome to Soul Love with Kimness. I am Kim van der Zande, your host, and I'm super excited to share another episode of Soul Love with you, where we share inspirational and empowering stories from the heart. We talk about the beauty and the shadows as both are part of the ascension journey, to remind you that you are powerful, you are magical, and to have trust in what you feel to be true deep within. Enjoy this next episode of Soul Love. Before we start the next Soul Love conversation, I want to invite you to check out my amazing book, Activating the Flower of Love, a sacred guide for manifesting your deepest desires and highest calling. This sacred book, filled with powerful tools and activations, will guide you to open your heart to the beauty and wisdom within you, empowering you to create the life you deeply desire from the foundation of love. You can find Activating the Flower of Love in all the major online and offline bookstores in ebook or paperback, or you can check it out through my website, kimness.nl, where you can also discover the different ways of working with me and the latest updates on new starting programs. Enjoy this next episode of Soul Love. Welcome everyone to a new episode of Soul Love, and I'm very excited to share this sacred conversation with Laura West today and share her story of empowering love. So welcome within Soul Love.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, me too. I'm very excited to share a beautiful conversation with you and to find out what your jams and your beautiful journey, how it was and unfolded. And I really want to start with a big awakening moment in your life, because you are doing beautiful things. You have a beautiful book and a card deck, and you are a podcast and all these beautiful things. But what initiated, what ignited within you to be on this path where you now get to share your wisdom with others? And yeah.
Yeah, so I like to share that I've had a couple of awakenings, but so it's the second awakening that happened in 2019 that I would say really spearheaded this part of my journey of mediumship, energy healing,
Yes.
podcast, book, everything. Because before that, it was a very personal inward journey.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was kind of the human experience journey of graduating school, getting married, getting a job, having children, all that stuff. So in 2019, I started meditating. And I started meditating because I visited a local psychic at one of our stores around here, and she told me to start meditating. And I had never done it before till then. I had always prayed, but I never meditated. So I always did the talking, never the listening.
Yes.
And so I finally started meditating. And that was my game changer. So it was, I would say, a prolonged awakening.
Yeah.
It wasn't like one dark night of the soul or one situation that changed everything for me. Like I woke up the next day and things were changed. It was this process of wanting to learn to hone in on my intuition, being told to start meditating. And then it was like one thing after another, learning what was intuitive, learning what was guidance, learning what I was supposed to do next, what I wasn't supposed to do next, trusting what felt right and embracing what didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing so, I could see, mostly in hindsight, because it's easier to see what we've done versus what's coming.
Yeah.
But I could see how doing that, listening to my intuition and following that guidance and following through on it, because that's a big one too.
Yes. Yeah.
How it laid out this path behind me and in front of me and where I was going and all the beautiful things that came with that, which helped me to then trust it even more. And now allows me to connect with spirit, which I absolutely love. And I knew before 2019 that I was meant to do it because I wanted to do it so badly. To then be able to do it. It's just been an amazing journey, but it was also had to happen in the right time. So the time became right. So yeah, I would say 2019, when I started meditating, things definitely changed. And went full speed ahead.
I love that. Yeah. But I also love like this inner nudge you felt within yourself. And I think for all of us, we already feel like what we're being guided into, only we don't know how, or we don't know how it looks like, but it's just this inner knowing, like, okay. And then you taking these steps. And that really is the journey. It's not per se that we're going from one till the end. It's like this unfolding of, yes, I follow this first inspiration of, okay, I feel like I need to go meditating and I'm doing that. Or you already stepping into that store and getting that inspiration. But it's like when you look back, there are so many of the pivotal moments that are like these puzzle pieces coming together. But if you miss one, the next will also not unfold. And I think that's beautiful. But it's also like being brave to do that, because coming out of this space, especially like as you shared, like going, like studying and then going to work and children and a household and everything, it's really creating this sacred time for you to take moments to meditate and to take moments to rediscover this important inner connection, because from this we can do anything, and we can step into this greater version of ourselves and change the world in beautiful ways that you're doing. But it starts first with it, and I think that's a beautiful thing as well, as you shared. It's first going within, because when we truly learn to discover who we are, we can go outward and express what we discovered, and then it's expressing your uniqueness. You are expressing what you came here to express, but it's not in learning there. It's in you coming within to like, okay, who am I and what am I here to bring into the world? And yeah, and I don't know, like if you now look back at this journey, were there like little aha moments or little things where you thought, okay, wow, I knew it was
Oh,
there on
yeah.
a subconscious level, but now that it's coming out, it's
Yes, absolutely. There were definitely inklings of mediumship for me throughout my journey, where I had lots of dream visitations from past loved ones, past loved ones of friends and family, and they weren't like these long drawn out dreams. They could have just been a simple message. It could have just been, wow, that dream felt different from another dream. I think they visited me, that sort of thing. So there are these little inklings, these baby steps that were good for me.
mm-hmm.
If I started to see spirit in front of me or like coming around a corner,
Yeah.
I would have been like, nope, that's too scary. I don't want to do that. So to have it gradual was perfect until
Yeah.
I was ready to say, I don't want to just have it be in my dreams. And I want to also have some say in when those connections happen and not just at random when spirit decides to come and see me. I'm still okay with that. But I
Mm-hmm.
also want to be able to connect while I'm awake and, be able to ask questions that I want to and not just hope that I remember to ask while I'm in my dream state. So there are
Yes.
definitely a lot of inklings and a lot of clues
Mm.
in my journey
Yeah.
that helped me to realize not, and also as I mentioned earlier, just the desire to want to do it. I loved watching, like the John Edwards shows, and I always loved the Teresa Caputo and the Tyler Henry and seeing how they worked. I know it's TV and it's edited, but still, it's
Yeah.
still very inspiring and moving. Sylvia Brown was a huge proponent in my spiritual awakening the first time around.
Mm-hmm.
So, I always had that hunger and desire, which also to me was a big clue that I was meant to do this work.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think for everyone tuning in, like that's the big message. Sometimes we see something and we are so interested, or we are so passionate about it, and it's understanding that that's a thing for us to unfold. Or our joys, our passion, they are there for a reason. Like your desires, they are there for a reason. They're not there for to never be reached. No, sometimes you need to take certain steps. You need to grow out of your comfort zone and all of that. But I think that's a beautiful message, because it's so like follow your dreams, follow your inspiration, like you being inspired by these beautiful souls. That means there's something for you to discover and to unfold. And I also love, like, because it's really, I also noticed in my own journey, it is also allowing our system to get used to that, because I think it's beautiful as you shared. Like if at one point I would just have this vision that is right in front of me, then you would get scared, and we block these parts. And most of us, while growing up, we probably have had certain experiences where we would see images or visions or words or things, and it would scare us so much that we locked it, or we didn't have the understanding yet, or maybe the surroundings that could help us in getting to know what is happening in a safe way. But by you getting those messages first in your sleep, also there's like this safety bubble and all of that. But it's also, again, what I love in your story as well. It's like the power of your voice. Like you at one point saying, okay, but now I'm also ready to receive them during the day and to co-create so that I can ask conscious questions instead of in my sleep and hoping that I can hear them tomorrow. Because that's a powerful thing as well. It's understanding that our team of love and light respects our free will and conscious choice. Yes, sometimes they will give us waves of what is possible, but it's still us choosing then, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to expand. I'm ready for my next level. And if we do not do that, they also like, they keep a certain distance because, so I think that's a beautiful message because for a lot of us, there are all these little things that are happening, but it's still us saying, yes, okay, I see it. And now it's like this muscle that we're training again, like I'm ready or yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. But it also happens at a certain time too, right? The
Yeah.
timing has to be perfect. Cause I do remember even a few years ago telling my team, and at this point I was already delving into mediumship, that, I want names. Like I want you to give me names when I do readings for people. That finally started happening this year. It's like three years later.
Yes.
So everything happens for a reason at the time
Yeah.
it's meant to. So that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and again, it's also because that's true. It's also our mind that wants it to look a certain way or wants it to happen a certain way. It's also like I'm going to deep desires. It's not per se that okay, we have this desire to manifest a certain thing or to experience a certain thing in our life, but it's not per se as we put out that manifestation, it will also look immediately or exactly the same as our mind wants it to be. No, sometimes it looks very different, but the essence is the same. The maybe we're looking for this deeper freedom or more joy or more financial abundance or more love. And that can come in many forms. So it's also understanding that, again, it's our soul timing, our soul plan, not our human timing that we sometimes want things to be very quickly or very, yeah. And it's being okay with that because I think a lot of disappointment or even like contraction happens when things don't happen in the way our mind wants it instead of, okay, this is my desire and I put it out there and I really align with the most aligned way for it to come to me. So yeah. And how because I'm curious, like how did your book and your card deck, because it's beautiful that you're also supporting people in that way with guiding them to go within and to bringing beautiful messages from spirit into their lives to support them.
Yeah, so the book came about in a very intuitive way. I had never had desire to write a book. I think the thought crossed my mind once, like, oh, it'd be cool to be an
Yes.
author, but I'm like, what am I going to write about? And what can I write about that would be interesting to people? So I had two separate people on two separate occasions asking me if I'm documenting my spiritual journey because they see me writing a book. And so by the time the second person
Mhm.
asked me that, I said, okay, I get it. I'm supposed to write this book. I knew it was a message.
Message received, yes.
Message received. So as soon as I said, okay, I'll do it, then I couldn't wait to get started. Like that's when the motivation came. It was that same day that I got off the phone with my friend who asked me the second person to ask me if I'm, writing my stuff down. That same day I grabbed my laptop and started channel writing because I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to write about. Obviously, this is spiritually guided. And so, I told my spirit guide, Jason, just tell me what to write.
Yes.
So that's how it started. And then I ended up hiring a book coach to help me along because I was very new to the entire process
Yeah.
of anything publishing. So that was really helpful as well. And she was great. And then the card deck also just came along. I was like on Instagram and I saw somebody post about here, buy this bundle to make your own card deck. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And so I decided to do it because intuitively it felt right.
Yes.
And I followed through with it and I made a cute little card deck. It's from your spirit guide so that people can receive a straight message from their guide just by picking the card they're meant to, after shuffling it and a couple deep breaths. And then
Yes.
they select the card that their guide wants them to know. Because I was doing a lot of messages at the time, either through Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives, or even just
Yes.
private readings as well. And I was getting a lot of the same kinds of questions. And
Mm.
I think there's a similarity in some of the responses. When I made the card deck, I keep pointing over my right shoulder because it's sitting there. When I made my card deck, I did it all channeled. Like, what I asked my soul team, I was like, what, answers do you want me to put in this deck? Because you
Mhm.
know who's gonna need these, give it all to them. And so that's how I made the card deck uh to be like the voice of spirit guides, but it could be really any any entities on the other side. Just giving that straight answer that the person who may still be developing a communicative relationship with their guides may need. So that's how those two came about.
Yes, but it's again you following your interest. Again, you having this
Yeah.
nudge, like, okay, yeah, I like this. Someone is offering this, and I
Yep.
feel like in this podcast series, we've talked a lot about our sacred yeses, and you're following your sacred yeses, not
Mm.
knowing where it leads you, but you just feel the interest, and yeah, you just leap, and then beautiful things unfold. But I think it's also that's the way. It's like we don't know where life will lead us. We don't know how things will unfold, and we can only like, especially when we want to create this new earth or when we want to create something new, like pioneering, it means stepping out of our comfort zone. It means stepping out of what we have created before and really allowing our soul to lead us in beautiful ways. And I think these are, yeah. And sometimes I like my book is also channel, but it came through like I didn't know where to write a book about. I just sat down and I also said to my team, okay, share with me. And in 20 hours, the whole book came in. But we need a book coach as well, because for me, it wasn't that chapter 1 and chapter 2 came in. No, chapter 10 came first and then chapter 2. And then so
Yeah.
there was this whole reorganization of
Yes.
the book. And yeah, there, like for me, it was really, there's one thing to channel it, but there's a whole journey that happens after, like the editing and all of the, yeah, it's really
Oh,
a
yeah.
journey of deep respect, like the whole
Yeah.
publishing journey. And yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
beautiful how that unfolds. But
Yeah.
how like because I love, like, you also now have a podcast and you're sharing like people that have had like almost near death experiences. So somehow like I love in your work there is this bridge between like physical life and afterlife, or physical life and the non-tangible life. And the how is that expanding for you since you started this meditation journey in 2019? And what things are opening up for you, and how are you, yeah, feeling called to inspire others in that? Because there's so much more than we can see and that we can feel and touch. And yeah, I don't know if there are beautiful stories to share.
Oh my gosh. I mean, just looking at the whole thing in general,
Yeah.
it's been amazing to have conversations with people that I wouldn't normally
Yeah.
have. And then recording those and then sharing them
Yes.
pretty much.
Yeah.
So I do have, a handful of solo episodes as well, but there's just so much that I get to learn from other people by having guests on. I love doing the solo episodes, but I also love having guests on as well. And so, I mean, I'm getting close to 200 episodes. I mean, that's like 100, I don't know, 50 conversations that I've had with people. It's 150 people. Well, there are some repeats, but that's
Yeah.
like a lot of people that I
Yeah.
would normally not have this discussion with. And these are all people sharing how their life has been guided by spirit, because I think it's
Mhm.
so important to the listener to know that there's not just one way or two ways or three ways. There are so many different ways. So, because it doesn't look like one way for the listener who's maybe new on their journey and trying to figure things out, doesn't mean they're doing something wrong or it's not working, it's not connecting. It's just going to look different. It could look very different for them. There could be similarities, and that could be very validating for their experiences as well. So, yes, I love the idea of bridging life and the other side. So the
Yeah.
podcast is called A Guided Life because it's about how spirit guides us,
Mhm.
whether it's in the physical or on the other side. So sharing people's near death experiences, or I did a life between lives regression session, which was amazing. I recommend anybody do that.
Yes.
because you get to go to the other side and not have to die in
Yes.
this life. And I mean, there's just so much knowledge
Mm.
and takeaway for those who have been to the other side and have come back and have been able to share about it and who courageously share about it.
Mm.
So to have those kinds of conversations with people is amazing. I mean, I've also had like, dating coaches and actors and all these people because a spirit guided life can look very different for different people. Again, going back to how, your story doesn't have to look the same as someone else's, but
Yeah.
spirit's still there regardless. So
Yes.
I love sharing from the different perspectives of how people have used their relationships with spirit to, work on their business, to help others, to also have a podcast,
Mhm.
to write their book, to follow the job that they're doing. So, all different walks of life, because I think it's so important to showcase that there's not just one way that it looks, but
Yes.
intuition is in all of it. And so is spirit, whether or not we realize it or, uh, you know, prescribe to that. Um, it, it's there.
Yes. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's a part of who we are, and it's remembering that that connection is there, or and that's what I love also. It's sharing all these stories because we're all brave warriors of love and stepping into our next level in beautiful ways. And it's really honoring our journey, I think, as well. Like wherever we are in our journey, wherever like we are in also sharing our story, we all, for me as well, I'm constantly being invited to step into my next level. And my next level for me also looks scary. And I feel fear and I feel doubt. But I know that I need to move through it. And I know that's the only way to step into this next level and to grow and expand. So with love and compassion. But what I love about all of these stories, like there are so many things that we all go through. And sometimes like a lot of people don't share. And in that we think like, okay, it looks beautiful, it looks easy, or but it's not. We're all going through this journey, but we also become stronger by acknowledging who we are and acknowledging our strengths and our weaknesses and all of the elements with love, and then we can truly expand. So I think it's beautiful because it's sometimes also for like still a taboo. I don't think for a lot of people tuning in, but it's still sometimes a taboo. Also this bridge between spirituality and our body, or like the non-tangible and our physical world. But it's in the end all part of one. And it is in us becoming to understand this connection that beautiful things start to unfold, like channeling a book, like bringing this card deck to the world, like connecting with beautiful souls all over the world. But that's not a per se a rational thing, or that's not per se and it's really following our sacred yeses that unfolds again in beautiful ways. And yeah, I think it's and if you're looking back at all the stories, like the 200, well, you said, well, 150 guests, but what are one of the
Something.
remarkable
It's a
stories
lot.
that you heard, or one of the, yeah, the beautiful things that kept you in your mind?
Oh gosh. Um, One that comes to mind right away. But first of all, I do want to say I love that sacred yes.
Yes.
I like that. That's really nice. It's true. One that comes to mind is I had this one guest. Her name is Tanya June Moore, and she was sharing about joy versus love
Hmm.
and how joy actually has a higher frequency than love because when we experience joy, we're in this very high vibe state, but we could be loving something and it not treating us very well.
Yes.
And and we not feeling very happy and
Yeah.
joyful. So that really stuck out to me. That was one thing that stuck out to me as far as that.
Yes.
I'm trying to think any other. I mean, there were so many. I had one guy on, his name's Nick Pease, and he wrote a book that was totally channeled about, what if life on the other side could be proven, but he wrote it like in a fiction.
Yes.
So I thought that was really forward thinking because I don't know anything that exists like that.
Yeah.
So I've had just really incredible people who are exploring the different aspects of spirituality and life,
Hmm.
whether on this side or on the other side,
Yeah.
and just in all different ways because it's so limitless. It's the spirit, anything spirit related is so limitless. So there's always going to be something to explore and always something to research and learn about. So
Yeah.
you can never have too many conversations, even of the
No.
same thing. There's so many
Yes.
different perspectives of just the same thing. So, I mean, they've all just have been I've learned so much and have just been so fruitful. And it's interesting how following conversations. I just had an interview recently with Mark Mesidorian. His episode's coming out on June 8th. I'm like
Yeah.
looking at my calendar. It hasn't come out yet, but he was um oh gosh, what was he talking about? Where was I going with this?
We were talking about different perspectives, and really what I love as you think about that, but what I love about
Yeah.
your sharing is that it's truly like also in these conversations, like some things you just immediately feel like, okay, this is for me, and others it's not. But that's the beautiful thing when we speak with beautiful souls, when we hear these beautiful podcasts, we get inspired, and sometimes even one word that we needed to hear that just opens up this whole trajectory for magical things to unfold. And that is also beautiful because where in the previous times or well growing up it was like, oh no, this is the truth, this book or this teachings or and all of it needs to be the truth. No, we can just get the little things that resonate with us, and we can make our own book of magic, our own book of life that resonates with our soul, with our plan, with our so I love, yeah, I think that's beautiful.
Yes, yes. And I do remember what I was going to say about Mark. So we were talking about he communicates with angels, and we were talking about the number, I think numbers in general, but definitely fours.
Yes.
And then since that recording, I mean,
Yeah.
so our recording was for 44 minutes and 44 seconds. Already that was like, what? And then I was text messaging someone, I think the next day, and they're like, "Oh, look, like your message sent at 4:44." I'm like,
Yes.
"What?" Those like all these
Yeah.
fours showed up after having that conversation with him. So things like that with interviewing people, it's like we talk about number signs, then I start to see them all
Yes.
over the place
Yeah.
following that. It's really cool. I feel like spirit's really there.
It is, yeah. And what I love about that, like it's a gift for everyone. Also, all these conversations are always a gift for me as well. And it opens up, like it's understanding that there's so much more happening beyond these words. We are choosing to co-create this conversation, you and me, but everyone tuning in as well, because it's a co-creation with every one of us choosing to align to this conversation in this now moment, wherever you are in the world and whatever time you're tuning into this. But it's understanding that there's so much more happening beyond these words. It's an energy exchange that is happening. It's like a whole alchemical process. And I love as you shared like the four. So maybe tune in like what happens for you in your life with the four or on the four. Or, yeah. And I also want to come back to it because I think that's such a beautiful share as you shared like the energy of joy and love. Because love, like pure unconditional love, is so beautiful. But in this earthly realm, there are so many limitations on love. There are so many like
Hmm.
we need to earn it, or you need to be better and then you get love, or there's so many conditionings around love, or so
Yeah.
many like it's related to only that other person. But there's also this unconditional love from the universe, from source, God, from love just within ourselves. And joy is just joy. Like also if you just hear the vibration, there's just this sparkling energy, joy.
Yeah.
Like okay, joy somehow for our human perspective, it's very clear. Joy. That's just fun, vibrant. There's like
I
this.
know. I think of
I love.
Christmas.
Yes, it is.
And
Yeah,
I
but
love
there's
Christmas.
yes, yeah, and love. There can be this, like it's almost even for love. Sometimes there is this separation, or there is this duality that happens. While joy is just joy. It's just this.
It's
Yeah. So I
just
think it's
joy.
beautiful as you shared that because there are so many dimensions again in that, and it's really. But what I love is you shared, and that's always how I do. But I love in your whole journey, like following these sacred yeses. Words, they have a vibration, and sometimes just suddenly something pops, and then it opens this whole story or this whole vision that and that's the beautiful thing about tuning into all these conversations like and even it's on the background, sometimes you hear something and suddenly all these puzzle pieces click into place and you don't know where it's going to lead you or you don't know, but you just feel like okay, this excites me or this opens something up for me or to be inspired inspired, because that's as well on this journey, like especially when we're in challenging moments, we need these inspirations where, okay, we know that we went through it or others went through it, and we have got this, and we can, with step by step, we can rise again and we can create beautiful things. And it's also understanding as we go through these things that sometimes they are huge turning points, or yeah, because even you, when you went in that bookstore, in that store, you could have thought, okay, meditation, yeah. I'm going to be busy mom and doing all, because that's what I
Yeah,
love in your story as well, because you are or were a nurse, and you stepped into this
I
space
am. Yeah.
really opening up in that. I think it's also, I think there's something between like physical uh, science and all of that and spirituality. It's suddenly a theme in the last sessions or the conversations I've had. But how was that for you? Because I think also in nursing, there's so much more happening beyond the
Mhm.
physical, and people also transitioning and all of that. So there's this whole, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know what I love about nursing versus any of the other uh, roles in the healthcare field is that nurses get to utilize both science-based practice, we call it evidence-based practice, and then the humanity-based practice,
Yes.
with compassion and kindness and caring. So we get to really utilize both because we get the most time with the patients. Whether you're in the hospital or in an outpatient setting or in home health or hospice or anything like that, you're spending a lot of time with the patients as a nurse. So there's a huge caring and humanitarian component to that. So it was very easy for me to
Mhm.
still work as a nurse. Even now, I work full time as a nurse, but then also explore my spirituality. It felt very easy. And I even got to do some energy healing learning, which again just felt like it fit right into place with nursing. Um, so much so that it was actually a registered nurse who created that program that I went to, and I got continuing education units for it and everything and reimbursed through my work because it was recognized as an evidence-based practice, which I thought was amazing.
Yes.
So I feel like being a nurse, it probably was the best case scenario occupation I could have chosen for one exploring spirituality because I don't feel like the in the act of nursing that it butts heads because
No.
there's so much
Yeah.
caring involved. Maybe when, you know, dealing with other aspects of it and getting others to be more open to the spiritual side of
Mhm.
caring for people. But I feel like things are coming around.
Yeah.
And so I just continue to be a firm believer in advocating for nurses and their use of their intuition when it comes to taking care of patients. Again, intuition, it's in everything. So
Yes.
there it
Yeah.
is.
But I think it's beautiful because as you come more in your power and your alignment, you also have more to give to others. And
Yeah.
like again, when you are joyful or happy or just in this space or in the space of inner peace, however challenging your surrounding, because especially in sometimes hospitals and all of those places, there can be a lot of stress and when you then can stay centered, that is also the vibration you are gifting to the people you're working with. You get to hold space for in beautiful ways. So I think sometimes like yes, we can do a lot of beautiful work, but I think there's even more work within those spaces to bring light there. And it is not with words. It's you just being present, you being just who you are. And in
Your
that,
energy.
yes,
Hmm.
I get goosebumps everywhere, but it changes the whole dynamic there. It changes the whole system. And it's not in saying like, okay, this is my truth and it needs to be your truth. No, and you know that. Like it's in this subtle things where you can just be compassionate with someone, or you really like see their pain, or you see like the soul behind what is happening, and you see like the depths, and you can just be in a nourishing way with that. I think it's such a gift if you can truly hold that space, not only for you, but also your colleagues and the people that yeah, you get to help and support. So yeah, I think in a lot like in this world, we need those. Like also for me, like I'm doing project as well, sometimes in businesses and all of that. And I think it's beautiful because then we get to bring the light there. It's not only bringing light in sacred
Yes.
spaces and meditations, because it's pretty more easy than than when you do that in like
Yeah.
yeah in hardcore business world or in a hospital or like even when you are in military or anything. Like it's also holding the space there instead of every one of us stepping out of that and just being on this island like, okay, this is my yeah. So I honor you for that, and I think it's beautiful because I think a lot of us we can relate, and sometimes we feel like, okay, I want to do something different, but it's understanding that the biggest change happen in those spaces when you, but also the biggest growth happens in those spaces for yourself. Because imagine when there's so many challenges around you or there's just this dense energy, when you can hold space and inner peace in yourself in that space, that is true mastery. It's not when we're like, also for me, I can be very happy when I'm in nature. Everything is
Yeah.
beautiful and I have a lot of beautiful trees and flowers around me. But it's also easy because there's no resistance and nature is already aligned.
Yeah.
So it also helps me align. But imagine you're standing in this space where everyone is triggered or everyone is angry or there's so much stress or like sadness of all of that. And then to really stay in that space and be the contribution, because there's the yeah the biggest change. So I don't know how that feels for you, but I think it's such a powerful work. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think that that's really powerful. It's definitely a full embodiment,
Yes.
mind, body, soul. It's not like, okay, I'm going to be spiritual here when I'm doing readings and doing my podcast, and then when I go to work, I'm turning it off.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
definitely a full embodiment.
Yeah.
And sometimes people, I think they're torn, or many times people are torn between, well, do I continue this work that maybe doesn't feel aligned, or do I follow the more spiritual path of my work?
Hmm.
But I also think there's nothing wrong with not wanting to divide the two and not wanting to have to pick one or the other. Because like you said, there are probably reasons. There are definitely reasons as to why somebody who is on their spiritual journey are in a environment that may be very tough,
Yeah.
and difficult. And I do also want to comment on the part about when you're, able to center and be on the spiritual path, that you can be there, help others better. All along with that,
Yeah.
it also allows you to recognize when you need to fill your cup, when you
Hmm.
need to
Yes.
uh, do what's best for you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times I can speak as, to this as a wife and a mother and a daughter, that we are constantly giving, 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 giving. And I have been told on many occasions by different psychic medium friends, I just have to tell you, you need to be refilling your cup every night. I'm like, I
Yes.
know, I keep getting the
Oh,
same
yeah.
message all the
Yes.
time. So I know I'm definitely guilty of this too.
Yeah.
But that is brought to the forefront. Whether or not we do it is a different story. But
Yeah.
I think it helps to maybe take some of that guilt away, knowing that we need to take time for ourselves as well,
Hmm.
so that we can be there for others. And for me at least, being on a spiritual journey and understanding how we're all on these journeys and we're all interconnected and we're all these different souls and we reincarnate, da la 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 la. It makes me feel better and
Hmm.
not guilty to say, okay, I need 10 minutes for me,
Yeah.
whether I meditate, whether I just do nothing, whether I journal, whether I go on a walk, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't feel guilty doing what I need to do because no one else is going to do it for you. They're just going to
Yes.
keep
No.
taking, taking, taking.
Yeah.
So you got to look out for yourself. And it makes, for me at least, it makes it feel more okay. I feel more empowered
Mm.
to say, this is what my soul needs. And I feel like having that spiritual awareness
Hmm.
helps it to feel more okay. So there's other, aspects
Yeah.
to it, of this whole spiritual journey.
I think, yeah, because I think that's an important one. And I'm a young mom as well. So I also know like sometimes and that's also again conditioning. It's like as women as well, it's like overgiving, overdoing, people pleasing, all of those patterns. And it's really understanding when we fully take care of ourselves, like we can also give more to others. I sometimes share like even I notice the difference. If I start my morning 5 minutes, or even it's 1 minute, to align my energy instead of just letting my girls wake me up and rush into the day and bring them to school, it's a totally different day. But just that little moment, it's not only changing my day, but also them, because then I can be a more joyful mom and I can hold space in more beautiful ways. So I think that's an important well, and especially also in the nursing, like sometimes it's so like, okay, where does my energy field ends and where to create awareness about that. I think what I love, as you shared, like it's not per se about creating these boundaries, like I'm not doing anything anymore. No, it's about becoming aware of, okay, where am I overgiving and where is someone coming over my boundaries? Because by you respecting that, you can also be there for others more instead of like, yeah. So I think that's a powerful awareness there. So thank you for bringing that into the world. There are so many beautiful things to share, and I think it's really beautiful how, because also as you shared, like the balancing both and really allowing our journey to unfold. Sometimes we have this vision of how it needs to look like, but it's also really about the embodiment in everyday life. Also as a mom, or like, yes, it's beautiful to have that in meditation, but it's also beautiful that we can hold this space while doing the dishes or while needing to do all the other things, because that's also part of this
Multitasking.
earthly journey. Yes, it is. We
Very
are
much.
human. And again,
That we are.
and it's circling back, because I think that's beautiful. You shared like, okay, this being stepping in front of you, but it's also understanding that we can only bring truly the change that we are here to bring by being in physical form, by being human. And now you get to inspire, you as a beautiful soul, through your words, through your physicality, get to inspire others about their potential by living it, by experiencing it, so I think that's beautiful. So thank you for bringing your light into the world. And if people want to know and find your beautiful book, your card deck, your podcast, and all the other beautiful work you're doing, I will share all the links below. Yeah, do you have your card deck here, or only there in the back where you were pointing? Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So
Back
I
there.
would say if people want to draw a beautiful card out of your deck, that they can find it and they buy one of their own. So I think it's beautiful. If there was one more thing you would like to share with everyone tuning in, a tip or an advice, or what would it be?
I think that what I've been guided to share also is that you know, don't take for granted the moments in between the aha moments. You give that sacred yes, and then there might be this period of it seems like nothing's happening in between these sacred yeses, but so much is still a lot going on. I'd say behind the scenes,
Yes.
and a lot of growth that can still happen. We're always looking for like what to do or the outcomes and things like that. But there's a lot that can be we can benefit from in the times in between, the times of solace and solitude and quiet. Oh gosh, take advantage of those quiet times,
Yes.
because life is so busy.
Yes.
And just be, and trust the process, and you'll know when it's time to act.
Yes, I love that. I think it's beautiful, and it's really like it's planting a seed and trusting it will unfold in its own way, instead of
Yeah.
peeking like, okay, are you still growing? No, it's really
Yeah, relax.
relax. So I think that's such a beautiful message. So I want to thank you for sharing your wisdom and sharing your light, and yeah, being the contribution you are in this world, and everyone tuning in, you as well, because you're bringing so much light into the world in your own unique way, and we honor you for that and we celebrate you for that. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next Soul Love podcast. So for now, much love, and see you next time. Bye. Thank you for joining this episode of Soul Love. If you want to find out more about what we do, you can find it below. And I'll see you in the next episode. Much love.